Getting good at this.
Hello, hello, all my friends out in podcast land. How are you today? It's Trish Carr from Women's Prosperity Network with another episode of Be Real, Get Real. And this is the place where we actually get to know the human beings behind the businesses. Because, they always say it's about know, like, and trust factor when you're working with a business. And whether that is a big conglomerate or whether it's a small company, it's the people that make us want to come back. I know for me, the man who bags my groceries at the store, the woman who is my cashier, the person who takes my money when I go to a store, those are the people that I want to do business with because I like them. So Women's Prosperity Network, we want to make sure that we all know each other, because when you know each other, there's that there's affinity. It makes me want to do with you, be with you, refer you, and that's what it's all about. Because behind each one of these business owners, everywhere you go, there is a real human being that you would like to connect with. So I'm so excited to have with me, my guest today is Lisa Perez. And Lisa is the founder, president, and the lead consultant for her company, HBL Resources. And I love their tagline. HBL is all about transforming the human in human resources and remembering that there are people we're talking about in those resources. So I just love the message, and it's so in line with what we're talking about here. Lisa is amazing. Her company delivers efficient execution of strategic HR foundations, improved administration, so that you engage more clients, make more money, lower your costs. And the thing I love about HBL is that they bring integrity and reliability. They give you sustainable results at the highest level of professionalism. Plus, I love Lisa. She's a wife, a mom, a grandma. She does crafting and she loves butterflies. So, Lisa, you love butterflies?
I absolutely love butterflies. I actually have a butterfly garden as well. And the cover of my book, that picture of the monarch, was actually taken in my very own garden right in my backyard. So I
have one bush. I have porter's weed, and that attracts butterflies. Right. And I sit out on my patio and I just watch them come and go every day. It's so great.
Yes, the entire journey, the entire metamorphosis, the entire transformation is quite telling. And I love to use that analogy in life,
I have never had a monarch butterfly in my yard, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh. Well, you got to get the purple passion flower then, because
let me write it down. The purple passion flower?
Yeah, the purple passiflora is the name that you'll probably see it. And it is a host plant. So they will come and they will lay their eggs on it. The caterpillars will birth on it. They'll eat it out of, eat the whole vine up if you let them. They'll nest there. They'll create the cocoon there, and they'll launch from there too. We've been able to experience the entire life cycle right in our backyard. In fact, we just had two of them come out of their cocoons this past week. So
okay, purple
passiflora. Yeah, and the trade name is passiflora. But you'll also see it as purple passion flower. It's a host plant. And I like to think I did, something to help them get off the endangered species list.
Yes, that's so wonderful. So great. So funny. A girl from Brooklyn. So yes. I didn't see many butterflies when I was growing up in Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of butterflies in some of the parks, Central Park.
Yeah, of course. When we left the neighborhood.
When we left the neighborhood, exactly. Exactly. You had to go to the parks and Prospect Park. I have an affinity for yellow butterflies, especially. It reminds me of my mother.
Me too. Yellow butterflies. That's all I saw, those beautiful
Yep.
yellow. Where did you grow up in Brooklyn? Where were you again?
So I was in Williamsburg. I was
Oh,
in the south side of Williamsburg. Pretty rough area back then, but now when we go back, it's incredible because you see the boutiques and the shops and the restaurants and the bars, and I'm like, wow, how fortunate those individuals are there now to experience Brooklyn in that phase. So a little bit jealous, but glad I got out because
well,
it
when
was
you
not
did,
that.
yeah. But now it's cool to live in Brooklyn. When we
Oh yeah.
lived there, it was like, you live in Brooklyn?
Yes, yes, it's the new Manhattan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I wonder if you've been there recently. So my grandmother lived there, and I would look. She lived in a brownstone, right? So we would climb up, and we'd look out her window, and we would see the Williamsburg Bank with the clock on it. Is it
Yes.
still there?
Yes, it is. Yes,
I
it
love
is.
it.
I believe it's been registered on the National Historic Places. So,
Yeah.
in fact, we go back every year. I've got two of my five children up there, and we love going back through the neighborhood and just looking around and remembering when and all of those kinds of things. Always great to go
Yeah.
back. We go back at least once a year.
Yeah. And I mean, I have good memories, although there were a lot of things that didn't go right. And I know for you as a young girl,
Yeah, yeah.
you were 16 years old, and the next thing you know, you're like, oops, I'm
Uh-huh.
pregnant.
Yep, yep, yep. That was quite the journey. One I remember well and keep close to the vest typically until the last, 5 or 10 years when I started to really realize how important storytelling is and how those can help others. So yeah, I was as a I like to say not really survivor but thriver after abuse in my early childhood formidable years. Kind of got caught up in a couple of marriages and early pregnancy that was completely unexpected. But she is now 37 and just a joy in my life. She helps me with my business. She's in real estate. She's an avid writer, an incredible writer. She was put here to do writing. So I'm fortunate that it was tough, on the journey, but one that I wouldn't change in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. It's so interesting. So you just gave me a whole bunch of stuff to unpack right there.
Let's do it.
Because, okay, so you and me are very much alike. We do our thing, we move forward, whatever's happening that might be called drama by other
Yep.
people, we don't get pulled in.
Right.
It's just what's happening. It's not
Right.
what's happening to me. Like, we're really good at that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yet, when you look back at your young years,
Yeah.
you were one of the 1 in 4. You were the one of the 1 in 4 who was sexually abused at an early age.
Yes.
And then you became pregnant at 16 years old, and then had to get into the workforce and build a life for yourself at a really young age. So
Yes.
we gloss over these things.
Yes.
But these are major things that happen in your life. And, even though you're 16, 17, boom, you're an adult now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you went into working at that age, and I know that you ended up in the hospitality industry. So did you work at hotels?
So out of high school, I was a legal secretary. I went to administrative school, secretarial school. So I did that right out of high school and college. And then I actually fell into human resources through hospitality. I was a little frustrated in the legal profession. It wasn't fulfilling enough for me. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And I quit my job. It was a challenge to do that. I had two kids at that time. So that was kind of funny, not the best decision. But the attorney that I'd worked for was not a very nice person. And I think that, epitomized what has now become this mission of transforming the human and human resource, because he was not a very nice gentleman at all. And I used the term.
Nice that you call him it's nice that you call him a gentleman.
Well, because you know what? That's another rabbit hole, but it is what it is, and forgiveness is an amazing thing, right? So, so I left that job and was looking in the newspaper and saw a front desk clerk at hotels, and I was like, I could do that. That would be a piece of cake compared to what I'd just been through, right? Got the job, and I loved hospitality, loved going to these beautiful hotels, to work, and being in a lobby as my office, right? But the position itself was not conducive to my talent either. Check in, check out, check in, check out, and it was very redundant. And I'm a believer in always wanting to learn and grow and change, and never be stagnant in a position. And while they did want to make me a supervisor, my personality is not that great for front desk, because yep, I can hold my own, but you can't yell at me too much without me saying, I'm from Brooklyn, right?
I'm so ashamed you're a girl from Brooklyn.
I'm here to help you, so don't yell at me. And you just couldn't do that in the 90s in hospitality. So I found out that there was an admin job that was going to open in HR. Had no clue what human resources was. Had never even heard of it, but I knew it was an office job, and that is where I thrived. And I got the job as an HR clerk, and here I am, so many years later, 30 plus years later, having had a very rewarding hospitality career, and now entrepreneurship for the last 13 almost. So
wow, I was going to say, how long have you been? What was the catalyst that started HBL?
Oh gosh, corporate America.
That'll do it for most of us.
Yeah, that'll do it. Interestingly enough, HBL originally launched under a different name in 1999. And I had the HR acumen, but I didn't have the entrepreneurial acumen. And this is why I'm so happy to be a part of the WPN community, because you provide that entrepreneurial acumen on steroids. So I was able to garnish some more. So I had to put HBL again under a different name on the shelf for a while, went back into the workforce and got those entrepreneur skills. I, tried Amway, I tried Creative Memories, which was scrapbooking. So I love that.
I remember that company.
Yeah. So those became my entrepreneurial skill training grounds, because the success of the first launch of my business just didn't go too well. It was only 2 years, but I knew what I didn't know, and I knew that I had to fill that gap, right? That's the awareness of what we do have as skill sets and what we might not have, right?
Right.
And then HBL relaunched 13 years ago, August 13th, 2011, and here I am.
Well, and how cool is it? Like, you had that first experience, it didn't go the way you wanted it to, and you didn't give up.
Exactly. And that has a lot to do with making sure that you never give up, right? Your dreams are your dreams, and you should never let them go. I at the age of 8, Trish, I knew, and I was a little girl in Brooklyn, that knew I wanted to be a business owner. My dad was a business owner. I saw him go to work, and he owned this glass shop, right? It was a glacier. And I got to sit at the desk and answer the phone one day. And that was it for me. I said, I want to be this business one day. I had no idea what that would entail or what that would transpire into, but I absolutely love what I do today.
I love it. And for you, I mean, from where you came from and where you are today, it took a lot of faith.
Yes.
And I know that that's something, you talk about having the faith. Yeah. And it's even, you've created like an acronym or an acrostic about it. So share with us, how do we keep the faith to keep going despite the childhood that was not perfect, despite making mistakes, but they all turn out to be the best that they can be, but in the moment they are not.
Yeah, for sure.
And going through that failure, if you will, of that first time starting your own thing, not to mention, we really didn't get into this, but you were in a primarily male-dominated industry.
Very much so.
In corporate, in hospitality. So that had to be a challenge in and of itself. I remember at the phone company, how horribly women were treated in the male-dominated jobs. And I have stories for days. I'm sure you experienced the same thing.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. So I really, I think I was the only woman on the executive team when I had reached the level of, I was the HR director at the Fontainebleau, which is a hotel, massive hotel here in Miami.
Everybody knows the Fontainebleau.
Everybody knows
Miami Beach.
I always say, everybody's got a Fontainebleau story. Some of them we can tell, some of them we can't tell. But, I think it was always about, like I said, faith, right? F is first things first, right? What are your priorities? What is it that you want out of life? We have to have wishes, hopes, and dreams, but we also have to do the actions to get there, right? I
Yes.
think, somebody said, a dream without an action remains a dream, right? You'll never have them realized. So I
Right.
think we all have these core priorities, right? Whether it's our vocations, our faith, our community, our social responsibility, all of those things. And each one of those have different sets of priorities. But what comes first for you, right? What are the, Covey uses the term big rocks, right? Because if you don't focus on the big rocks of your life, like your children and your family, your spouse or your faith, right? Your devotionals, whatever those things are for you, then you're going to be doing the minutia, right? And that's not going to get you the goal of your dreams. So you got to know what your first things first are, and then focus on them, right? I always say, would your actions and your checkbook prove that you're focusing on the first things first? If your most important relationship was with your spouse, but you don't have date night and your checkbook wouldn't show, right? Yeah, I'm a checkbook person, then would your time and your money prove that you're focusing on your first things first, right?
Yeah.
And like I said before, right? Action, faith, action. You've got to act on those things, but you've also got to be aware. You've got to be self-aware, and self-awareness sometimes is hard, right? Having to look in the mirror. I had to look in the mirror after 3 failed marriages and say, what's going on here? Why can't I get this right? Right. And all of that was directly related to the abuse that I hadn't yet processed in a healthy way, right? Yeah, I did some little work with it, but really digging down and becoming self-aware to see how those things have affected me and the decisions in my life. That self-awareness journey was very painful. And sometimes, that showed up in work too, as being aware is, the employee surveys that didn't find me to be an approachable person at the time. So I found DISC, right, the model of human behavior, which I'm now a certified specialist in, so that I could learn myself better to better meet the needs of others. And I think I'd love to share a resource with our community that is a guide for not just identifying others in your space, but yourself, right? What is your personality style? What is your motivation and communication style? So that you can, you can't change anybody else but yourself, but you have to be aware first of yourself. And what I found in that awareness journey was that as a high, some call it type A, right? In the DISC model, it's a high D, dominant driver, right? All of that. It was that person that was showing up first, not the sanguine, right? The softer, the stable, the encourager, because I'm right, opposite the model.
We have the same, ours is the same.
Are you a DS as well?
I am a DC.
Okay. Yep. So that driver personality, right? If you are not self-aware, right, that awareness piece, then you really don't know how you're showing up or how you might be perceived. And it turned out I was being perceived as that driver, right? That get out of my way. I've got something to do. And that's not the best, success for an HR person always, So becoming self-aware really created an amazing journey for me, both personally and professionally. I actually talk about it in my keynote, transforming the human and human resources. It's about that journey piece in my life, but it started with awareness, right? That self-awareness.
Right.
And then
this free guide that you have, I'm sorry to interrupt, it will give me insight into myself and into other people.
It will. You'll be able to kind of figure out where you are on the DISC model, right? Are you a dominant, an inspiring, a supportive, a cautious? You said DC, C being cautious, right? Process driven and what have you. So it'll give you a little insight on each of the 4 behavior styles. And we're all a blend of all 4, right? One's not better, one's not worse. We're a unique blend of all 4. And they're just different, right? One's not
They're
better,
just different. They're just different. And once you know where you are, like for me too, when I found out you're a driver, and I'm like, I know I'm a type A. What's wrong with that? Yeah. Well, what was wrong with that? With people who are more social, people who are more supportive, don't react well to
Yeah.
my. So
Not at
I
all.
have to when I
Not
write
at
an
all.
email, or when I write something, a text or an email,
Yeah.
I go right to answer the question,
Yes.
and I literally have to go back and say, "Hi, I hope you're having a good
Yes.
day."
Yes. Bravo.
Right? But I
Yeah.
did not know that until
Yeah.
I did these kinds of things. So I really
Exactly.
urge you, if you want to get into the A, which is
Yes.
action and awareness,
Yes.
take action to get awareness and
Yes.
effectively read yourself and other people. Go
Absolutely.
ahead and go to that link
Yeah.
and make sure you get it. So I
Yeah.
love it,
Absolutely.
love it,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. So F is first things first. A
Yeah.
is action and awareness. What's
Yeah.
I?
You touched on it in your introduction of me, and I want to thank you for that. It stands for integrity, right?
Yes.
Doing the right thing when no one is watching. I watched, I'm not on Instagram and social media that much. I do it for business and to, be there for people, right? And I saw something a couple of days ago about this shopping cart, and I'm going to use it somewhere in some kind of program somewhere. But it said, the shopping cart will really tell you a lot of bit about yourself, right? Do you return the shopping cart or not? It said, right? And it said, if you return the shopping cart because there's no expectation to do so, you don't get in trouble to do so. Nobody, says anything bad about you. You can't be fined. It's a completely self-regulating thing to return the shopping cart to its place or not, right? But it tells you about yourself in that, and I'm trying to paraphrase as best as possible. I just saw it this morning, in fact, because what are you going to do with the shopping cart? If you put it back when nobody's expecting it, you're not going to get in trouble, right? You don't have to do this thing. That it's very telling about your disposition and your integrity, right? To do something when nobody's watching, right? We're sometimes tempted to cut corners and throw somebody under the bus, and the corporate right has that in there somewhere all the time, and that's not who I am. My dad always instilled in us as well: do what you say you're going to do, right? Those are things of integrity. You have your word is your bond, he would say, right? Those kinds of things. And I think that integrity is hugely important. Admitting and apologizing when you're wrong, right? That's part of resilience, right? To be able to swallow hard, right? And say,
Yeah.
I could do better. And I think integrity is a big, big thing, but doing something that's the right thing to do when nobody's watching, to me is like, it epitomizes integrity for me.
Yeah. And it goes with the other two, because first things, what's important to you? If you choose that my faith or
Yep.
my family or my
Mhm.
spouse, that's an
Yeah.
integrity. Just like you said, does your
Yeah.
time and your money show you that that's where your value is? And
Yes.
then the second thing is action and awareness. Once you're aware, you
Yeah.
can never go back.
Mhm.
So it's staying true to you.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. What's the
Sure.
T?
So the T is transformation, and this is where
Ah,
my beautiful butterfly shows up in many of my speaking engagements and keynotes. Right? It's that looking in the mirror. Right? When I found out in my career that 60% of the employees at the Fontainebleau did not find me approachable. Right? I had to find out why. I had to fix this. I wanted to be the best and show up as the best professional and person I could. And the DISC model, I learned it. I understood it. I knew what I was needing to do differently. I don't like to say what I did wrong, right? Or what anyone does wrong. What could we do differently? And I that transformation needed to occur, right? So that I could show up as the best person. And that begins with looking in the mirror, right? Looking at the mirror personally, like I did with my abuse past and what it how it attributed to the changes in my life and the decisions in my life, but also professionally as well. And when you don't like what you see in all things, right, then sometimes that's because you haven't done the work to create the best version of you, right? And that
right.
takes transformation, and that could take years. It could take decades, and we're never done. right? We're never done. We're always, I think, learning and growing and
Good.
showing up and continuing to transform ourselves into, what we were created for, in my opinion,
Yeah,
so.
totally. I mean, when you look at Maslow, right, the
Yes,
top level, that
yes.
self-actualization, that happens when you're
Self-actualization.
gone, when
Yes,
you die,
that's
right?
right.
You're
That's right.
always striving for more, to learn more, to know more, to be better,
Yeah,
to be the
yeah,
best you can be. Yeah, I
yeah.
never give up that stuff.
And I think people have to really do the hard work to heal themselves and to overcome the adversity in their lives, and that's not always easy, right? Especially if it exists from your formidable years, right? Those teen years and even those early adult years. You've got to do the hard work that it takes to kind of get rid of the junk inside.
Yeah,
It's always going to be there, right? Because just like a scab always has, something there that's always going to be there. That's who and what creates who we are
right.
today. I don't want to erase it because it has its place and it has uh, the result of what, you
Yeah,
know,
I
uh,
want to integrate it so that it's with me in a way that supports me.
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Love it. All right. First things
Exactly.
first, take action, be aware. Integrity leads everything.
Yeah.
Next is your transformation. And then what's your H?
H stands for a couple of things, right? Hope, and how. How was really what got me through that early motherhood, right? How am I going to afford to feed these kids? How am I going to go to work and find daycare? How? Everything was how. How am I going to get my degree with two kids in tow, right? How? And you figure it out. It's like uh resolution, right? Problem solving, right?
Yeah,
Problem solving and figuring things out and finding the resources. It's no wonder I fell into human resources. I can find anything for anyone. If there's a resource out there, I can find
I
it.
can get it.
I had to do it for myself. Seek the resources that you need to overcoming, the diversity that you face in life, making sure that, you get to that next level and then ask the question again, how do I continue to learn and grow and find, right, the resources, but also hope, right? I remember at 17, uh, it was not very popular, okay, in the 80s to be a young, pregnant, teen. You were considered a statistic. And I remember having a conversation with someone that gave me the statistic. And I said to myself, I'm not going to become a statistic, right? I am not going to be that person that, because of abuse in my past, because of early teenage pregnancy, because of all of these things that become the statistic that is, that's not going to be me. I'm
Right.
going to I'm going to overcome all of this, and I'm just so thankful for the journey, to be able to. That's my next book. In fact, I'm still figuring out when it's coming out, but that'll be my next book. That personal journey to help so many young women out there that are going through this very same thing, who might be discouraged or what have you, right? It's gonna be okay, but you got to do the work, right? So always have hope. H is also hope, right? Hope
Yeah.
for and dream. It's okay to dream, and then of course you go back around action. Right? You
Yeah,
gotta
and
do
then it
it.
goes right about. Is this
Exactly.
important to you? Does it feed your
Ex-
values? Does it feed your
Exactly.
goals? Now let's
Exactly.
take action and be
Yeah.
aware as things are happening, because right over there is an answer I'm looking for. I need to open
Yeah.
up my awareness to that.
Yeah. So definitely, seek the answer to the how and never lose hope.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lisa
Thank you.
Perez, thank you
Yeah.
so much. I feel so good. I wrote down all these things. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like this. I'm going to be putting it in front of me. And
So
I'm
fun.
going to go out and get myself a purple passion flora
Yes.
so I can get some monarch butterflies.
Monarchs. I just saw one. We just had one in the backyard yesterday.
Yep,
So
I'm definitely going to get some of that.
excellent. We need more. We need more. They're eating my
Yeah,
vines. Let's get some more vines over there
let's
with
get
you.
some more. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to go to this link and I'm going to
Yes.
get my free guide to really
I
be
love
able
it.
to read myself and to
Yes.
read other people.
And others, and show up the best as we can for others. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Lisa Perez, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your story, your
Thank you for the
vulnerability, for
invitation.
being who you are.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything you do in the world. Thank you
Yeah,
for the contribution you are to Women's Prosperity Network
my pleasure.
and to our community and everyone.
My absolute pleasure.
I
I
love the
appreciate you.
human resources. That's what we do.
Yes, let's bring it back.
Let's bring it back.
Absolutely. It was a
Thank
pleasure. Thank you so much. It was an honor to be here, as always, to support you and the WPN community.
Thank you. It was so much fun for me too. So
Likewise.
I hope that all of you enjoyed the conversation today. This is what Women's Prosperity Network is all about, is showing who the real people are behind a business, because business comes from the head as well as the heart.
Amen.
So if you're not yet familiar with Women's Prosperity Network, go ahead and join for free. Just go to womensprosperityNetwork.com and get your membership started.
Yes.
Be sure to be in touch with Lisa Perez at hblresources.com. And thank you all for spending the time with us this afternoon. Lisa, thank you for being here.
Again,
appreciate you. Everybody go out and remember, when you are real, when you be real, you can get real by looking and really being aware. And when you be real, you get real results.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being with us today. We'll see you again next time with another episode of Women's Prosperities. Be real, get real. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.